Hi folks, happy Friday to you. I trust that you've had a wonderful week and that you've managed to get some quality science fiction reading done too. And on that subject, what have I been reading? First one was Other Days, Other Eyes by Bob Shaw, which is a classic that I'm only just getting around to reading. And in summary, I had a really good time reading this book. It's very interesting. So Alban, or Al Garrod, has invented something called slow glass. So light doesn't pass through slow glass in the usual way, it is delayed. And the discovery itself is a bit of an accident, and the delay property actually causing some accidents itself when installed as super tough windscreens in cars and planes. The light taking a fraction or a second or two longer to pass through than it normally would, causing all sorts of misadventures. There's one through plot thread which carries the main story, and then there are several tangents that Bob Shaw goes off at, exploring different uses for slow glass. Light of Other Days is one such tangent, which is previously published as a short story, I think, and perhaps the others were too. In Light of Other Days, a couple is driving around Scotland, they're on holiday, and they're sightseeing, and they come across a farm which has a field full of plates of slow glass, kind of drinking in the view, if you like. And the farmer is selling those plates of glass, and the price varies by how thick the glass is, or rather the amount of built-in delay. Are you buying 5 years of beautiful views, or are you buying 10 years of beautiful views, for example? The glass has to stand in the field for that length of time to charge up, if you like. It's a wonderful idea, and that particular story has a real twist in the tale too. This basic idea, the light being held back to display at a later time, is the underpinning for the entire book. To what uses could such a glass be put, for good or for ill? There are cosmetic uses such as the picture windows, or the scene doors as they're called, and there are street lights which simply pour out the light that's charged up during the day. And slow glass can be used to solve crimes if there's a handy slow glass nearby to record the actions, if that's the right word. And slow glass can even be used as a sort of weapon if charged light can be released in an instant. Slow glass can be used by the government to spy on the people. Any piece of slow glass, however small, can record what it sees for later retrieval. Those clever streetlights now have a more sinister feel to them. Countermeasures have to be conceived for privacy. It's only a slim book, like 150 pages, but it's absolutely jam-packed with thought-provoking ideas, as I say, all of them built around the notion of slow glass. I really like the inventor and amateur detective Al Garrod, and I thought the relationship with his wife, who's a pretty challenging character, was done really well. I've read a few Bob Shaw books now, and I've enjoyed them all, including this one. Thoroughly recommend it if you haven't read it before. Well worth getting hold of a copy. And then on audiobook, and unusually I don't have a physical copy of this one, I read Those Left Behind by NC or Nick Scrimgeour. This is the first of 3 books in a trilogy, and they date back several years, I think. And Nick Scrimgeour is a Scottish author, and she's written several books with a new one or a new series on the way, I believe. If I can damn it with faint praise, it was fairly lightweight, but it was, engaging. I enjoyed listening to it on audiobook. In this first book, there are teeming billions, tens of billions, that live on New Pallas, which is a planet, the vast majority in dirty, polluted slums on and under the surface, with the more fortunate living topside in high-rise buildings, and the even more fortunate, cybernetically enhanced, living on Exodus Station, which is in orbit. It quickly transpires that Exodus Station is actually a way station built long ago by who knows who or what, a portal to somewhere. And the hope is that that will take us somewhere that the tens of billions can escape to from their dying world. We're introduced to a small group of folks who go on to be the main point of view characters in this and the following books. There's Alvira, who's the driven captain of the Exodus Station, a post that she achieved through a mutiny some years back. And then there's Ridley, who's a slum dweller on New Pallas with a talent for languages. And then there's Kojin, who's the Exodan flyboy, the pilot of the Ranger, which is the ship that they plan to use to test the Exodus Gate. There are plenty of other characters that we meet along the way, but those are the 3 main human characters. And I make that distinction because there are several different alien species involved at the other end of the portal. There's a galaxy full of them, it seems. Will the coalition, the governing body for this mixed bag, allow in tens of billions of humans? Who put the way stations there, and what is their real purpose? And why have so many different species found their way to the same patch of galaxy using these way stations? There are dastardly Mandalorian-like enemies that the Idran Var for the coalition legionnaires to fight, and they're shaping up for a big decisive war. But is there something even more dangerous, something bigger and more deadly than even the Idran Var, poised to come through the way stations? This is a fun space opera, and I think it will appeal to fans of the Becky Chambers Wayfarers books. It's not anywhere near as cozy. It has rougher and sharper edges. It's darker, but the alien species are similarly well drawn, I think. The relationships, the friendships, and maybe more between them are also done pretty well. I'm enjoying the deep concealed history of this galaxy, the sense that there are patterns that are being repeated, but it's also a bit murky at this point in time. But I like the way that the characters are figuring it out, and I like some of the characters more than others. It being a trilogy, it is a 3-book story arc, and I think all 3 need to be read to get the maximum enjoyment and satisfaction out of the story. And I've moved straight on to book 2, Those Once Forgotten, also on audiobook. I was also expecting to finish The Promise of the Child by Tom Toner, but I still have about 50 pages to go, and I haven't quite managed to get that done before recording this video. So I haven't finished it, and I haven't properly gathered my thoughts about it yet. But suffice to say, it's either an utter mess or it's a work of underappreciated genius. At the moment, I'm leaning heavily towards the latter. It's a remarkable piece of world building, I think, and 80%, more like 90% actually, into the first book, I'm beginning to make some sort of sense some of the time of what's going on. It is not an easy read, and that there's no hand-holding. You have to figure everything out as you go, piecing together the world and the story in your head as you go. So I didn't quite make it for this week, but there will be much, much more on this book next week. Do let me know what you've been reading this week. Is there anything that you particularly recommend? Do let us know in the comments. It's always great to hear from you. Briefly then, channel stuff next. Subs then are at 4,304, which is up 259, a really huge week for me, probably several times a higher number than I would normally expect. If you're one of those 259, or if you've just stumbled drunkenly on my channel for the first time today, then a huge welcome to you. I'm John, and I focus on collecting, reading, and waffling on about science fiction books, old and new. Comment of the week this week was from David Greensmith, who has a problem with potatoes, specifically with how they were transported all the way to Mars in The Martian by Andy Weir, and kept fresh along the way without sprouting like they do in your cupboard within a few days. That's the kind of quality insight that I expect from this audience, and that those lazy authors miss. We had a brief exchange relating to spud care in space and the bigger unexplained cargo issues that there might be with The Martian. This last week has been a bumper week for comments, so thank you to David and to everybody else that took the time to leave a comment. It's really much appreciated, and genuinely one of my favourite things about doing this channel. Let's take a look at what was on the channel this week. On Sunday, there was the top 10 hard SF videos. I say top 10, it's always a little bit clickbaity, but it's 10 what I think are good hard science fiction books, most of which I've read, some of which I am yet to read but would like to. And that video is done particularly well compared to a typical themed video on my channel. It's currently, by some distance, the second most viewed video on my channel just in the few days since it's been live. And on Thursday, there was a video looking at hidden gems, hidden science fiction gems. And those all came from the process that I went through of looking at the entrails of the lower reaches of the survey results from the audience survey that I did at the end of last year. Any book that one person put in 10th place in that survey, so it resulting in just 1 point for that book, and there were about 50 of them. I picked the 15 that I felt that I was most interested in, but all 50 are in the description for the video if you want to take a look. So those, I think, the hard SF video has done really well, and the hidden gems one is doing pretty well as well. And both of them, I think, are worth your time if you haven't already watched them. On the book buying front, after last week's weekly update video, I recorded a book haul video, which hasn't gone live yet, but will quite soon. And after recording that, the decks were completely cleared. But since then, 1 or 2 chickens have come home to roost, books that I ordered weeks ago that have found their way across the Atlantic rather slowly. There's a couple of nice first editions assigned in one case, plus there's a few that I've ordered locally and a couple of charity shop finds. And in fact, just today, 3 or 4 more books arrived to add to that pile. As we sit here now on Friday, my to be hauled pile is currently 12 books, all of them splendid. Let's take a quick look ahead at what will be on the channel in the coming week. Next week, there will be that book haul video, and I think it will probably arrive on Sunday, but possibly later in the week. That book haul video is ready, it's uploaded and everything, but the timing of it depends on whether I can record a different video to go out on Sunday between now and then. And only because I generally prefer to drop the book haul video closer to the middle of the month. That other video is most likely to be a look at the new 2025 science fiction releases, or at least those that I'm interested in reading myself. I've picked out the books, but I just haven't recorded the video yet. I do also have a winter-themed video recorded, and I've only just defrosted from recording it, but that will probably arrive the following week. Since last time, I have done a bit of content planning, and I have lots of ideas that I'm really excited by. But if there's something that you particularly like to see or see more of, then do let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to hear what you might like to see. What will I be reading in the coming week? I will certainly finish The Promise of the Child, probably this evening, but that will present a dilemma. I may feel compelled to move straight on to book 2, which is called, The Weight of the World, whilst book 1 is still fresh in my mind, but that is not on my planned TBR for this month, so I'll have to think about that pretty carefully. If I'm not tempted into reading that, then the next book is probably still Hegura. That was the book that I was expecting to read after Promise of the Child last week, or this week, just gone. And if I get through that, then I think probably The Wind-Up Girl will be next. But who knows? It's TBR chaos here at the moment, it seems. I shall also be continuing on audiobook with the Nick Scrimgeour books. They're pretty quick reads. They're not thick tomes. So it's possible that I will actually finish books 2 and 3 in the coming week. As always, thank you ever so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. And until next time, goodbye for now.